Hey guys, it's Raul again, and today I'm going to be bringing you the monthly recommendations for the month of October. The monthly recommendations is a group created by Trina from Between Chapters and Kayla Rayne. I will link both of their pages down below for you guys as usual, as well as the Goodreads group to this monthly recommendations group, so you guys can join if you'd like. So the theme for the month of October is obviously creepy reads. So I have a couple of book recommendations here that fall into that category of creepy reads. I'm really excited because I absolutely love horror and creepy stuff, so I have a couple of recommendations for you that I'm hopefully will appeal to a lot of you guys. Let's just jump right into it. So the first book that I'm recommending for you guys today is from one of my favorite authors that I have read, and that is Intensity by Dean Koontz. This book is, like I said, one of my favorite books. He's my favorite author. I absolutely love it. This is about a girl named China who goes one day to visit her friend's family. So she's on kind of this road trip and goes to visit the friend's family. While she is there visiting the friend's family, this man comes into the house and murders her friend's family. This is kind of where everything takes place, or everything starts off. I love the main character, or the main villain in this one. His name is Edgelor Vess, and he's definitely one of the kind of best villains that I have read about. He's very disturbed and very creepy. He's just one of those characters that you just want to keep reading about because he's so well written and so well done and so disturbing. So then after the friend's family gets murdered, there's kind of certain events happen where she's kind of forced to decide whether she wants to go after the villain or if she wants to just escape and forget about everything. So this is extremely creepy, very scary. From the beginning, you kind of get chills by the description in this and by the way that this main villain is acting. It's very terrifying, and by the end, it's just very satisfying. It really makes you want to keep reading this book because you want to know what happens. It's very exciting. So this is definitely one of my top picks for creepy reads. The next book I have for you guys is another Dean Koontz book, and this is one of the scariest books that I've ever read. So if you do end up picking this up, go in with caution, and that is The Taking. I absolutely loved this book. This book was terrifying to me. This is about it's kind of sci-fi-ish, and obviously people are getting abducted and taken. By the name you can see it's called The Taking. So people are getting taken, and adults are disappearing, but the kids are getting left behind. It's super, super creepy, super scary. There are dolls that get up and talk to you. There are these creatures living in basements. There are people getting sucked up through ceilings. It's just so scary, so terrifying. I loved this book. I let a friend of mine borrow it, and then she texted me and hated me for a while because I gave her this book to read, and she was scared and got nightmares. This is a very scary book. So go in with this cautiously if you don't really like a lot of scary things, but I absolutely loved it. There's this kind of alien message throughout the book that they're trying to solve, and by the end when you find out what it is, every single hair on my body stood up because it was just so creepy and so disturbing, and I loved it. This is definitely one of my favorite horror books that I have read so far. And the last Dean Koontz book that I have to recommend to you guys is What the Night Knows. This book is about a man named Alton. Alton Turner Blackwell is actually the main villain, and he murders people in a certain way. He has a distinct way of murdering people. Eventually, Alton Turner Blackwell gets captured and he gets executed, and years later, there's someone committing murders in the same act that Alton Turner Blackwell was committing them, and everyone thinks it's a copycat killer. So the main character is kind of, thrust into this whole investigation, trying to figure out who this copycat killer is, but it's a lot darker than what they think. It's not what they were expecting. It gets really, really dark. It gets really, really intense. This is a pretty thick book, and I flew through this. This was just, from the beginning, was just so creepy, and I don't want to say too much about it because I don't really want to give a lot of things away and spoil some things for you guys, but it was just so intense, so creepy, so scary. My wife actually bought this book for herself. I don't know why, because she doesn't like horror, and she couldn't make it past chapter 5. So yeah, that goes to tell you, this is a very scary book, so another one that you should go in cautiously if you don't like a lot of extremely scary things, but I absolutely loved this one. So the next book I have to recommend to you guys, I don't physically have here because I let my brother borrow it a little while ago, but that is Demon by Tosca Lee. This is a Christian fiction book that takes place in Boston, and it revolves around this reporter who kind of recently got divorced, and he's kind of, down in the dumps, and he's living a very monotonous life where he kind of goes to work, and he works at a magazine, he's a writer, and, goes back home and is living kind of that life where he's not really happy with, and one day he gets visited by this man named Lucian. Lucian comes to him and tells him, I have a story to tell you, you need to write it down and publish it. So then eventually starts kind of progressing with the story. He starts appearing to the main character in different shapes and forms because he eventually finds out later on that he's a demon, obviously with the title called, Demon. It's a memoir. You find out that he's a demon, and he appears to the main character in a lot of different shapes and forms to kind of tell him bits and pieces of this story, and it ends up being kind of the story of the Bible, so it's kind of a twisted, like, fictional version of the Bible, but through the eyes of this demon who's telling this main character what this story is, because he obviously wants him to write it all down. It's really, really interesting, so if you guys have read any Christian fiction, or looking for any Christian fiction, or have read the Bible before, this is definitely a very, very cool take on the story of the Bible, kind of seeing it through this demon's eyes, and telling this main character, bits and pieces of the story as everything progresses from the creation of humanity, Adam and Eve and all of that kind of stuff. It's really, really cool, really interesting. Tosca Lee is an absolutely brilliant writer. I've read almost everything she's published so far, and I absolutely love it, and this is definitely one of my favorites from her that I have read so far. The next book I have to recommend to you guys is a little toned down. It's not super, super horror, so I figured I would put one in here that isn't too scary so that you guys might want to pick up, and that is Shutter Island by Dennis Lehane. And this book takes place in 1954. The main character is an investigator and gets sent to this insane asylum, where in this insane asylum one of the patients has escaped. And he is sent to kind of find out what happened to this patient, where did he go. The insane asylum is actually on an island, so they, their theory is he has to be somewhere on this island because the island is so small. The only thing on this island is this insane asylum. So if he escaped, he's hiding in the island, or he's dead because everything around it is water. So he gets called to this insane asylum to kind of investigate what happened, where this crazy person went, and things kind of start to develop from there. I really, really enjoyed it. It's really, really creepy, but it's not too scary. I hope not. I hope it's not too scary that it'll keep you awake at night. Really interesting. I loved the ending. There's a book actually, or a movie, out that came out years ago with Leonardo DiCaprio, if you guys haven't watched it. I really liked the movie adaptation also, but the book is also much more descriptive because it really gets into the main character's head, and you can kind of get more of a sense of what he's feeling and what he's thinking throughout the book. So I did obviously enjoy the book more than I did the movie. So this is definitely creepy and not too scary and still really interesting, where it'll kind of, grip you and you want to find out what's going on. So I definitely recommend this one also. And the last book that I have for you guys is Too Close to Home by Linwood Barclay, and this is about a family who gets murdered, and then their next door neighbors, they're the ones who are the protagonists in this book. They are kind of wondering why their family next door got murdered. They were such good people, and you kind of start to find out things about this family that weren't too great. The family next door, they were lawyers, and they're trying to investigate why it is that this next door neighbor, this family got murdered, because the main character in here is friends with the kid next door also. So that's kind of why he has that interest in wanting to find out what happened, obviously, to his friend and to his family. It's really creepy. I don't want to get into too much detail because, like I said, I don't want to spoil a lot of these books for you guys. So that's kind of the main premise, is just kind of finding out why the family next door got murdered and all of the secrets that they were kind of holding. So I really, really enjoyed this one. Another one that isn't too scary, so some of you guys that are a little too scared to pick up some of these books may want to try this one because it's intriguing, it's a thriller, and it is a little creepy, so it shouldn't be too bad for you guys. So yeah, guys, that is it for my monthly recommendations for the month of October. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you guys have read any of those books, please let me know in the comments below so we can gush about them a little bit. And if you guys are planning on picking up some of these books or some of these intrigue you, let me know also. I really enjoyed it. Like I said, these are definitely some of my top creepy reads for the month. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys next time.